Today, we're heading deep into the deserts of Namibia on a bit of a treasure hunt. But, we're not looking for gold or anything like that. We are searching for one of nature's greatest masters of disguise, a plant that has evolved to look, and I mean literally, like a stone. And our search kicks off with a little challenge for you. Okay, right off the bat, have a look. Somewhere in this jumble of pebbles and sand, there is a living plant hiding in plain sight. Can you spot it? Yeah, it's definitely tougher than you'd think. And there it is, right in the center. Now, if you missed it, don't worry, you are not alone. This is an incredible survival strategy called mimicry. And this plant, it's an absolute champion of the art, an evolutionary marvel that's just designed to disappear. So let's get a proper introduction. What you're looking at is a member of the genus Lithops. The name actually comes from the Greek for stone face, which, couldn't be more perfect. They're famously known as living stones, and their entire game is to blend in so perfectly with their surroundings that they don't become lunch for some hungry animal. So, how do we know all this? Well, our story today follows a photographer and naturalist named Keith Green. Back in 2017, he went on an expedition to Namibia with one single-minded goal: to find and photograph a really beautiful species, Lithops vallis-mariae, out in its remote natural habitat. But before he could even start looking for his main prize, Green decided to go back to some known spots for another species, Lithops pseudotruncatella. And what he found there, well, it served as an early and pretty troubling warning sign. And the change in just one decade was, wow, it was dramatic. See, back in 2007, this site was open, lots of small lithops everywhere. But by 2017, it had been fenced off. Now, without animals grazing, the whole area became overgrown with grasses. And those grasses just choked out the lithops, stealing their light and water. They only found 3 large plants left. It's just a stark example of how one seemingly small change can have these huge unintended consequences. Thankfully, it wasn't all bad news. On a farm nearby, Green found this, a thriving colony. Just look at this cluster. It's healthy, there are a ton of them, and they're all beautifully camouflaged. This is exactly what a healthy habitat is supposed to look like. But that hopeful moment was right next to a brutal reminder of the threats these plants are up against. At another site Green knew, a farmer, who probably had no idea what botanical treasures were on his land, had just plowed the entire field. The result, in Green's own words, was that the colony was practically destroyed. It just goes to show these plants are threatened not just by slow ecological shifts, but by direct, sudden human action. Okay, so with those warnings fresh in their minds, Green and his companion turned south toward the Brucaros Mountains. It was finally time to begin the real hunt for their primary target, the ghostly white plant, Lithops vallis-mariae. Just look at this landscape. This is what they were dealing with, a massive, seemingly empty plain covered in millions of these tiny, pale pebbles. And somewhere among all of that were the plants they were looking for. Talk about a needle in a haystack. So they walked, slowly, eyes glued to the ground. But after a full 30 minutes, all they had found was litter, shards of broken glass. More glass than plants. You can just imagine that feeling, right? Did they come all this way for nothing? Where on earth could these masters of disguise possibly be hiding? And then, just as that doubt was probably really starting to set in, there it was. Success. Green stumbled upon the very first specimen. That moment of discovery, after a search that difficult, must have felt absolutely incredible. And you know how it is. Once they found that first one, their eyes kind of adjusted, and pretty soon they started spotting more of them nearby. And what a sight they were. Green's description just captures them perfectly. He calls them ghostly white with a velvet luster. That incredible sheen, he points out, comes from these tiny, microscopic wrinkles on the plant's surface, a feature that, for some reason, just seems way more pronounced when you see them in the wild. So the quest was already a success, but the journey had another amazing surprise waiting for them. Sometimes the most important discoveries aren't planned at all. They just happen by pure chance, often during something as simple as a well-earned pit stop. So they're driving down this long gravel road to check on a different conservation project for a colleague, and they pull over. As Green puts it, by pure chance, we had stumbled upon what was most likely a completely new location, a spot completely unknown to science.
And this is it, the very first plant they spotted at what they playfully named Eric and Keith's pit stop. It was this healthy, two-headed specimen, and once they found it, they found many others. They had accidentally discovered a brand new, completely undocumented population of Lithops vallis-mariae. That is a truly significant find.
Green's journey wasn't just about finding that one species, though. It was really a tour of the incredible diversity of camouflage that lithops have evolved. Each species is its own little master, perfectly adapted to its very specific local environment.
First, let's look at Lithops pseudotruncatella again. Just notice how its mottled brown pattern and its round shape make it nearly impossible to tell apart from the sandy quartz pebbles it grows with. It's a perfect match of both color and texture.
Next up, check out Lithops fulviceps varlactinea. This one has this really distinctive, milky, pale color, an exact match for the whitish rocks in its habitat. In fact, Green said that if their guide hadn't literally pointed them out, they would have been incredibly difficult, maybe impossible to find. And sometimes the camouflage is almost too good. This is Lithops caris montana, which mimics these sharp-edged orangey-brown stones. The disguise is so perfect that when Green first spotted this plant, he thought it had two heads. It was only when he got down for a closer look that he realized it was actually a three-headed plant. It completely fooled his expert eye.
So after seeing all these absolute masters of disguise, we land on this central, really tough paradox of their existence. The very thing that has allowed these living stones to survive for thousands of years is now becoming their greatest weakness.
I mean, think about it. An animal that's looking for a meal is going to scan the ground and just pass right over a lithops. But a bulldozer operator, a road construction crew, they won't even know they're there. The plant's greatest defense against nature offers absolutely zero protection from the indiscriminate march of human development.
It's a really profound vulnerability for such a tough, resilient little organism. When you see a beautiful specimen like this one, with that little hint of pink in the late afternoon sun, you just realize what a fragile and unique treasure we stand to lose, often without ever knowing it was there in the first place.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering question. For millions of years, these plants have played the ultimate game of hide-and-seek with the natural world, and they've won. But the rules of the game have changed. The question now is, can something that has perfected the art of being invisible survive in a world that no longer even bothers to look?